little crazy sometimes. Oh, somebody else got some. Just like me. Hi. My name's Zell. How's it going? And we are live. How are you, Cap? Well, today we'll be joining none other than Gaming with Grayce. I suppose I should probably get into a Discord call of some kind here. Thanks, Cap. Appreciate you. Okay. I was wondering if you were hopping into your Discord. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm in Babbling Brook at the moment. So today we're playing a game called Heart of the House. And Grayce has graciously decided to join me for... I don't know if I will try to do a whole bunch of voices, but it tends to happen when I'm doing these sorts of interactive novels. So I'm sure it'll be good fun. But, well, hello there. How are ya?
And I'm actually doing pretty good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, I'm tired. It's funny because I woke up yesterday at like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And so you'd think, well, geez, that sounds like a great time to try and get back on a schedule. Mm-hmm. No, I stayed up till 7. So
oh, no.
I was up for 24 hours. Oh, Grayce is a little soft. Okay, no problem. How is that?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Do you hear my voice, Cap? How do I sound?
Probably still a little soft. Somewhere around there. Cool. Awesome sauce. So yeah. How much do you know about this interactive novel?
I know nothing about this interactive novel.
Awesome. Sweet. So it's kind of like, I describe it as like a choose your own adventure mixed with sort of Dungeons and Dragons, because you actually have something of a character sheet where the choices you make alter your stats, essentially. But each story that these guys come up with have a totally different set of stats. Like, one of them that I'm playing has like the old demeanors like melancholic or phlegmatic or choleric or whatever. And so you have these 4 that are kind of constantly in tension depending on what your choices are. So this one happens to be a haunted house, and you, I believe, are basically a psychic, or have psychic powers. But let me read this thing. I haven't played it. I purchased it, and so I don't even really know that much about it myself. Anyway, choice. So yeah, this is from choiceofgames.com. They have lots of different ones. They kind of feel derivative at some level. So like Superhero High School reminds me a lot of like My Hero Academia, the anime. They have like, they have some legitimate Vampire the Masquerade stuff, which like they actually partnered with Vampire the Masquerade apparently. So that's kind of
nice.
I'm excited to play those because I've always liked that setting. But yeah, some of them are like, and some of them are very entertaining. There's one called Pugmire, Treasure of the Sea Dogs. Will you be a good dog or a scurvy sea dog? Fetch and recover the famous corgi pearls from across the seas in this swashbuckling furry adventure. Like, they have stuff that's very clearly a little interesting. But so yeah, here's the description of Heart of the House by Nisa Campbell. Destroy the evil at the heart of a haunted manor. As an orphan, you discovered your ability to commune with the spirit world and ghosts. When your Uncle Kent mysteriously disappears, you'll embark on a journey to find out what really happened. With your trusty companion Devanand? Interesting name. With your trusty companion Devanand at your side, you make your way to Darnacroy Manor, where Kent was last seen. It is the house. Part of the House is a 360,000 word interactive gothic novel by Nisa Campbell. It's entirely text-based, without graphics or sound effects, and fueled by the vast, unstoppable power of your imagination. With the manor, you'll encounter the Master, Lord Bastian Reeves, his mysterious servants, or Oriana and Lauren, and the thousands of spirits teeming around and in this haunted mansion. But will you shatter the power that binds the ghosts to the house, or claim it for yourself? Can love bloom in a haunted house? Most importantly, how will you escape when the house comes for you? They give you a whole bunch of different options. You can play male, female, non-binary, gay, straight, bi, ace. I have to admit I don't know what that means. Poly. Yeah, so it's they have a whole bunch of options. You can encounter ghosts, and you can find some people to indulge different romances, apparently, which is the part where I'm probably like going to be the least like, I don't know, intent on, I guess, because I'm not really, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't say I'm anti-romance. I probably used to be like one of those hopeless romance guys, but now I'm maybe like that older, jaded guy that doesn't really give a shit. But asexual, is that what that means? Ace? Okay, good to know, thanks for that. So yeah, anyway, how about we get into it? This and this. Now, if you guys don't mind telling me if that is not readable, that way you guys can read along where I am and all that stuff on stream and see choices. Oh yes,
no, that actually looks really good.
Good. I took time to try and make it good. That's the other thing that I'll mention. I do love when the audience participates, and of course I think I'll say like both of us can vote, and it's fine to vote wrong or not wrong against one another or whatever. But this is a multiple choice game. In fact, it's too many multiple choice. You get like 10 choices sometimes. It's crazy. But what I'll do is I'll put in the poll section from time to time the option for the audience to decide with us if we feel like we could do any of these type of thing, and we want to see, because I want the audience to also feel like they're also kind of playing the game and having some effect on the story. I think that's fun. If you guys don't want to vote, obviously you don't have to, but from time to time I think I'll do that, and if you want to prompt me if we should do that, that's fine too, but overall I thought I'd let you know. So I vote to jump into the Sarlacc pit. Cap is officially not allowed to vote. I'd rather think of it as an audiobook. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Liz, why don't you take the first one? Since you...
Like to read the prologue?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. You were only a child when I saw your first spirit. You watched from the window as the lamplighter made his way up the street to outside your uncle's house. Each flare of green light seemed like magic. It must have been the first time you saw the street lit up at night. You were so entranced that you barely noticed the presence at your shoulder, a shimmering man who had come to watch with you. He looked like your papa, but that didn't frighten you as much as it should have. You were too young to know what death meant. I mean, like, read the whole thing?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can scroll down a little bit here.
He didn't come to you often, but sometimes you'd catch a light at the corner of your eye. When you looked, he'd be there watching. Quiet and still, but always watching. You got used to his presence, adapting as children so easily do. Then came the day your uncle walked in and saw him. After that, it was chaos and confusion, salt across the windowsills, charms to hide under your pillow, chalk marks above your door. Only then did your uncle tell you the truth. Your papa was lost to you forever, his vengeful spirit ushered through the aether into a world of dead. No wonder no one who crossed over could ever come back, no more than you could cross over while still alive. So this creature, this thing that took on his aspect, it could only be there to harm you.
Wow.
Bum,
So our
bum,
choices
bum.
are obvious. Well, apparently, I was still so sure the spirit must be my papa. The very idea filled me with terror. I knew that the spirit wouldn't harm me even if it wasn't papa. Spirits? I thought that was the most foolish idea. So already, so what's going to happen? Because I know I've played a couple of these already. Is that our choices are going to base our kind of start affecting our stats, as well as a lot of the options that we have, even the ability to choose later on. So what is our choice? What are we thinking? Are we thinking we're totally chill with this, or we're totally believers 100% that this was our papa? Now, is that like our dad or our grandfather? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it didn't really make that clear to me. So but yeah, I mean, I'll just because it's the first time, I want to make sure the polls are doing. I'm going to say what choice should we make, and then there's just going to be 1 through 4. So I'll let everybody, including ourselves, give her a shot. And I think I am perfectly happy with this one.
I hit the wrong vote. And then to hit 3.
We got a 3-way tie.
That 4 should actually be a 3.
Okay. I knew the spirits wouldn't harm me even if it wasn't papa. Okay. So we still have a 3-way tie, and which is fine. Of course, if anybody else is chilling or watching, that's great. You're welcome to vote as well. I put the voting to 1 minute, so it shouldn't take too long, of course. Okay, so here's my next thing. Because I'm a D&D player and I really like to play it, I also happen to Zen Wheels Ties. No. We'll let fate decide is the way I like it, and that means that we get to roll dice.
I like this.
I think in the future I'll actually put like a dice roller up here, but because I'm on D&D Beyond and it's a different thing, I would have to switch like screens and stuff. So I'll skip that for now. You can trust that I'm going to tell you what the honest answer is, or the honest dice roll, because he's a scallywag. Well, I mean, that may be true, but I'll be honest today. Let me give you 2 seconds. I kind of forgot to bring this up, knowing that this would happen, because it happened the last time I did this too. We'll just go with Shroll. Okay, so I'm rolling a 6-sided dice, because we have 3 choices. 1 and 2 is going to be number 1. 3 and 4 is going to be number 2, and 5 and 6 is going to be number 3. And the dice roll is 1. Aha! I win, you lose.
Nice.
We're good. Our character apparently is going to be a true believer. I'm so sure that it was Papa, and so we'll continue with that choice and see what happens. I'll take this next one. You put up a good fight, but your uncle endured. He reminded you about your father's execution, patiently explaining the differences between the living and the dead. He told you the sight was a gift passed down through your family, but you didn't want any gifts. You wanted your papa, so you howled until it hurt to breathe. With all your rage your tiny body could hold, you screamed for someone to come to take your gift away and give you back your parents. Your uncle held you until your sobs turned to hiccups. As your tears dried, he began to tell you a story. There once was a child, like you. I tend to pick what I am, so I'm just going to say I'm a little boy. Whenever he told you stories, he had a way of half-hypnotizing you with his slow, steady cadence. There were many gods back then, with many gifts to offer. They give this little boy the greatest gift of all, visions of the future. Through those gifts, his people became prosperous, and the boy was loved by all. But the boy wasn't happy. When the other children played, the boy could not play. When they worked in the fields, the boy was kept inside. Everyone knew a gift from the gods could not be wasted, so the villagers kept him perfectly safe. When the boy grew older, he fought against his fate. He railed against the gods and begged them to take away his visions. He would rather have been blind than see the future, because for him, the future only held endless confinement, endless loneliness. Your uncle looked down at you, then. What do you think happened next? Interesting. This one I'll actually say, let's vote. Because, like I said, it could change the entire story, which was what kind of why I was totally okay with paying for these, because it's like the replayability is really quite high. All right, so number one is the gods made it all better. Nothing. Those gods weren't real. Okay, Cap. I know what Cap's probably gonna vote. Did his mother and Papa make him feel better? And the gods made him go blind? Oh, interesting. Alright.
Oh, I didn't see it up there.
Oh, my bad. You can go ahead and tell me what you would choose.
I would have picked 4.
Yeah, that's what I chose as well. I just think that sounds like if you beg for something long enough, then like the gods of old anyway, or the stories of old, tend to like, oh, you want to be cursed, no problem, but it's not going to really help you. So let's find out. So you see his error, but these gods were more clever and cruel than that. Instead, they turned the boy's visions from truth to lies. The harvest was ruined because he predicted the sun instead of rain. Many of his people starved when the boars failed to return to the woods as he had promised. By spring, no one believed the visions any longer. But it was too late. Enemies came in great numbers. The boy's people were too weak to fight. The conquerors did not kill the young prophet. They had heard tales of his visions. They told him he would live if he could predict one thing that was true. That night he prayed to the gods for his old visions to return, but the first prediction he made was false. The conquerors plucked out the boy's eyes so he could see the future more clearly. Boy, Uncle is just such a nice guy telling me this story. The boy tried to twist the second vision into something true, but it too was false. They cut out his tongue to teach him not to tell lies. Okay. When he wrote down the third vision, and it too came to naught, well, that may be too dark a tale for you tonight. But I'm sure you can picture what happened next.
Oh, that part's too dark?
Holy crap, you just... What was he, like, disemboweled, or what the hell's happening here?
Here, I'm thinking his hand gets cut off, they cut off his tongue, they cut out his eyes.
Oh
my
man.
God.
Alright, I might as well do another poll on this one. I won't always do polls, but this one's... The beginnings ones are really interesting that I don't mind setting up the new one there. So the first one is, I begged him to tell me the boy was saved, but he wouldn't. Oh yes, I pictured it. I expected the same punishment to come for me. I told him that foolish children always die. Just the morbid child we are, apparently. And I asked why the boy didn't predict what would happen. Oh, that's kind of an interesting answer, actually. It's like, well, if he knew the future, did I give you guys...
You gave us only one option.
Sorry about that.
I was looking at that, I'm like, oh.
Let me try that.
You only get one choice.
It's like, I mean, hey, they actually do that in this game, though. They'll, like, if you choose something before, like, one of the ones I'm doing is superhero one, and I chose to be, like, kind of more like vigilante than, like, always on the side of, like, the law, and it forced me to pick the vigilante thing because my lawlessness versus my order was like 76%, and it was like, you just wouldn't do this. So I kind of feel like I would answer 4. I didn't get a chance. So I think it's probably going to be another 3-way, because I like the idea of being wise enough to ask, like, deeper behind the story. So, because like that's a deep question to ask. So let's do the dice one more time. Let's see what happens. Fate has decreed, though. What are we doing here? Oh yes, I pictured it. I expected the same punishment to come for me. Alright. We have a vivid imagination and can imagine just how bad that boy suffered even after the gouging of eyes and cutting of tongues. So, we learned our lesson, probably. Another three-way? I'm already exhausted. Wow, Cap. Well played. Well played. I could appreciate that kind of that level of. Anyway, did you want to go on this one?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
You know now that it was just a morality tale meant to scare you. It was never real, but it crept into your subconscious nonetheless. That night you hid under the covers, wondering if someone would come for your gift too. You were too wrung out to cry by then, so there was no way to escape the image. The prophet with no eyes to see, no tongue to speak, no hands to write, still tormented by visions that would never come true. You wondered if he died like Papa, hanging, or like Mother, locked in a room so everyone could pretend you didn't hear her pain. Sheesh, this kid.
This kid is just like, I mean, tragedy tends to breed really good stories, I guess, but
yeah.
Still. And he just assumed that his hands were chopped off? Is that what I'm getting here?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well. That's not as bad as I imagined, but I'm also very morbid, so. Alright, you can keep going if you want.
Your uncle was not a cruel man. When you woke screaming that night, he sat with you. He petted your hair like your mother once did, soothing you back to sleep. You were drifting into a fractured dream when a voice cut through the haze. It sounded like your uncle, but the words were not his. "Do not worry, child," he said. "Your mother's brother cannot rid you of me." You woke to see something dark flickering behind your uncle's eyes, and you felt the cold certainty that he wasn't the one looking out. "I am no simple spirit to be banished. No, I have traveled with your family for a long time. I watched over your grandfather, I watched over your mother and her brother, and now I watch over you." Your uncle's hand brushed your forehead, but the touch was not his. His fingers were like ice where they rested. "One day I will climb into this pretty little head, and then I will watch over your children. That is your gift, after all." He smiled wide, wider than any shape you thought his mouth could make. "Remember," he said with blackened eyes, "you must embrace the gifts you are given." Ooh.
Wow, that actually, I have to admit, like, that actually sounded pretty creepy, like, legitimately scary. Because I could, like,
yeah.
they've set the stage for something very, very, like, dark and morbid, so.
Like, kind of like insanity I'm getting. Like, those are the vibes that I get. Like, the mother's locked in a room where nobody can hear her screams, or they pretend not to.
Yeah.
And the dad hung himself, like...
Yeah, it sounds like the ghost tortures you, like, whether it's intent or not, or something like that, or just like even maybe just the nature of the power itself maybe drives you to madness or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
This reminds me a lot of, I think it's it's Anne Rice who's the author. I can't remember the first one's like Witches of Eastwick or something like that. That might be a movie. Anyway, but the second book is called Lasher. And it's about this spirit that latched onto this particular family and grows over the centuries. Very, very good book if you haven't watched Anne Rice's. I think it's East. I'll look it up after.
I've read one of her books. I think it was the vampire one.
Oh yeah. Probably the vampire Lestat or Interview with the Vampire was the movie that came out. So yeah, those are very good too. I really enjoyed those. But yeah, her witches one is very much similar feel of this, very dark and creepy, so this reminds me a lot of Goosebumps. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I never really watched them that much.
It kind of reminds me of like the stories to read after dark books.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's keep going here.